Thank you, Mr. Chair and other members of the Board of Supervisors. Again, my name is Charlie Payne with the law firm Hirschler. Appreciate your patience this evening and due diligence. First, to the young lady who thought that I insulted her, I apologize if she thought that. Certainly was not directed towards her. We are reacting to comments that are made in a very long public hearing. You can imagine that the amount of investment that my client has made just to date in this project, and to listen to the ongoing misinformation campaign, it can be a bit frustrating. So I do apologize if you believe I was being disrespectful. We keep hearing, again, comments regarding energy costs going up in Spotsylvania County. I don't know where this is deriving from. I'd be interested to see the analysis that's been submitted. Again, it's incorrect. The energy that's being generated is for a wholesale market for specific users. It's not being sold to Dominion, so therefore it's not going to a retail distributor who would then have to increase rates if there was ever any impact on both retail and commercial and consumer users. So, and not only that, but the CPCN that was granted to the applicant by the State Corporation Commission would be revoked, or it'd have to be amended at a minimum. So it just makes no sense. And again, we keep hearing these things. It just is, again, a little frustrating on our end. Intermittency, again, we keep hearing about how we're going to increase costs and impacts on the grid. Solar is actually very good during peak hours. It actually brings down the cost. So to suggest that somehow this project is going to impact the grid and cause increases or some sort of disturbance or disruption is just, again, incorrect. Cost of Spotsylvania, I keep hearing this. I'm trying to figure it out. Is it related to decommission? I guess maybe we can have a reasonable argument about that, but what would the other costs be? There are no other costs. We're not impacting property values. We're not taking 191 lots. I don't know where this keeps coming from. All we want is access to public water so we can use public water versus groundwater, which the neighbors around us said, please don't use and impact the aquifer. And by the way, the real byproduct or real winner of that is going to be Fawn Lake for the long term. We only need the water really during construction. We're just looking for a water connection. We're not residential developers, and we don't want lots, okay? This discussion about the comprehensive plan, this has been exhausted at the Planning Commission level and the staff level. I think it's if you think about all of the due diligence that the Planning Commission went through, and this is their primary duty, not the Board of Supervisors, to determine substantial accordance, and they determined that as part of their duties for all three sites, even though they voted against 2 of them. They still made that determination for all 3 sites, as well as staff did in their recommendations. Impacts regarding, I hate hearing these scenarios where, some school bus gets hit. Look, there are restrictions and mitigation requirements where we can't be on the road. Our delivery folks can't be on the road during school hours, okay? That's a requirement. Not a requirement for logging trucks. It's not a requirement for other activity. It is a requirement for us, okay? This net revenue number of $12 million, it's not a net number, it's the composite index application. Dr. Mangum included it because just to be completely conservative as he could be in the numbers, like this would be the worst case, but it's not going to happen, quite honestly. And I think staff would probably concur it'd be a very unusual circumstance that the composite index would apply in this particular case. Talking again about the comprehensive plan and incompatibility, I would tell you, one could easily argue that a dense development of 1,489 units next to low-dense development in a national park, likely not complementary either. Assessments, someone made a comment that I was talking about assessments in Fawn Lake. No, wrong word, sales. Those were final sales, not assessments. So with that, again, we have our experts here. If you have any questions, I know there's a lot of information. I'm sure you're all very tired. Making my comment short as I possibly can, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions or comments from the board at this time? Mr. Marshall.
And Mr. Payne, I'll direct this to you to point me in the right direction from the experts that you have.
Sure.
I'm looking for an answer from somebody from S-Power, of course. How many cadmium telluride panels do they currently have in operation in the United States? Do you have anyone who can provide that information?
How many? Over 100 megawatts. How many, do you know how many panels that would be?
Well, you don't have to give me an exact number. 100 megawatts of panels?
Over 100 megawatts.
Of that 100 megawatts, has there ever been a release of this chemical that
No.
they?
Come on up. Yeah. Garrett Bean from S-Power.
Yeah, there's well more than 2 gigawatts, I think, deployed in the U.S. that's currently in use. We do have panels that we've implemented on our sites, and at the request of Supervisor Benton and some of the planning staff, we went out and we tested all of the soil inside the facility and outside of the facility as a background, and there was no cadmium leached into the soil. And all of those results were provided by a third-party testing agency and provided to the county.
Thank
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
move on to the third public hearing.